When we think about what wealth looks like, we usually picture the same things, right? Big houses, fast cars, all the latest gadgets. But what if that whole picture is completely wrong? What if real wealth has almost nothing to do with how much stuff you own and everything to do with how much freedom you have? Today, we're going to tear down that old definition and build a new one.
To really get this, let's kick things off with a story. It's a kind of paradox you see playing out in pretty much every big city, and it reveals a hidden truth about money that most people just never see.
So imagine two people living in the exact same neighborhood. Earner A is pulling in almost 100 grand a year, but is totally stressed out, living just 2 missed paychecks away from a full-blown crisis. Then you've got Earner B, who makes almost half that, yet they've got a year and a half of living expenses just sitting in the bank, and they're investing every month. How on earth is that possible? Well, it has nothing to do with income. It's all about a hidden cost that Earner A is drowning in, and Earner B has figured out how to avoid completely.
See, the real difference between these two isn't what's on their W-2. It's how they understand the true cost of their possessions. Because here's the secret. Everything you buy doesn't just cost you money once. Oh no, it costs you at least twice.
The first cost? Yeah, that's easy. It's the price tag. But it's this second cost that really gets you. It's this quiet, constant drain on your life that happens after the purchase. And it's made up of 4 things that we almost never bother to calculate. Let's start with just storage. That treadmill you bought with the best of intentions? Well, it takes up space. And depending on where you live, that physical space has what you could call an implicit rent of up to $1,000 a year. You are literally paying rent to a machine that's probably just a very expensive coat rock at this point.
And then, of course, there's maintenance. Ask anyone who owns a boat. There's a rule of thumb that you're going to spend about 10% of the boat's value every single year just on upkeep. So that $30,000 boat, yeah, that's another $3 grand a year, every year, just to keep it from falling apart, even if it never leaves the dock.
But then there's a cost we can't really put a price tag on, but it might be the most important: your mental energy. Seriously, researchers have found that the more visual clutter you have around you, the higher your levels of the stress hormone cortisol are. Your stuff isn't just taking up space in your house, it's taking up space in your head and making it harder to focus.
And finally, the biggest hidden cost of them all, opportunity cost. That $15,000 you dropped on a fancy home gym? Well, if you had just put that same money into a simple index fund, it could have easily grown to over $50,000 in about 15 years. You didn't just buy a weight rack, you traded it for a huge chunk of your future financial freedom.
Okay, so that's all pretty sobering, right? So how do we actually fight back against all these hidden costs? Well, it all starts with a few simple, but really powerful, new rules for how you think about spending money.
First things first, you have to start calculating the cost per use. Forget the price tag for a second and look at the actual value. A cheap $200 jacket you only wear twice costs you $100 every time you put it on. But a really high-quality $400 jacket that you wear for years, that might only cost you $2 per wear. So which one is actually cheaper? This one little piece of math absolutely demolishes the urge for impulse buys.
All right, the next rule is something called the replacement test. I want you to go through your house and, for everything you own, ask yourself this one simple question. And you have to be brutally honest. Would you really go out and spend your hard-earned money to buy another bread maker or that fondue set that's just collecting dust? For most of our stuff, the answer is a hard no. It's just there because of inertia, not because of intention.
And the third rule, and this is a tough one for a lot of us, is to never upgrade just because you're bored. Replacing a perfectly good phone or a TV or a car just because a newer, shinier one came out feels like progress, but it's not. It is wealth destruction in disguise. And over the course of a lifetime, that one habit can literally cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Now look, knowing these rules is one thing, but actually sticking to them, that's a whole different ballgame. And the secret isn't to just have more willpower, it's to build better systems.
Because it really boils down to this one fundamental truth about people. We are wired to do what's easiest. So instead of fighting against our own nature, we need to use it to our advantage. We need to make the right financial choices the easiest choices we can possibly make.
So, how do you do that? You engineer your environment. On one side, you create friction for spending. You delete the shopping apps, you unsubscribe from all those tempting marketing emails, and you force yourself to wait 24 hours before any big purchase. And on the other side, you create ease for saving. You set up automatic transfers to your savings the day you get paid. You make saving the default setting for your life, not something you think about later.
And in case you're wondering if these little systems actually work, oh yeah, That 24-hour waiting rule alone, it eliminates about 70% of impulse purchase desires. Most of the stuff we think we desperately need in the moment, we totally forget about a day later. This one simple system saves you from your worst impulses.
When you start living by these rules and putting these systems in place, something really profound starts to shift. It leads you to the ultimate payoff, a completely new and way more powerful definition of what it even means to be wealthy.
And that definition is this one word: optionality. See, true wealth isn't measured by how much stuff you have. It's measured by your freedom. It's the sheer number of choices you have about how you get to live your life.
So what does that look like in the real world? It's the power to walk away from a toxic job you hate. It's the freedom to take 6 months off to care for a family member. It's the ability to start a business or move to a new city or just to say no to things that don't feel right. That is real power.
And this idea, it reframes every single purchase you ever make. You're not just trading money for an object anymore. You are actively trading your future freedom, your future options, for something you can hold in your hand right now. And when you see it that way, you have to ask yourself, is this thing really worth it?
What's really cool is that this way of thinking creates this incredible virtuous cycle. You spend less, which means you save more. That growing pile of savings makes you feel more secure. And when you feel genuinely secure, that desperate, emotional need to buy stuff for a quick dopamine hit, it starts to fade away. And that frees up even more money to save, which just accelerates the whole process.
So, I'll leave you with this one last question to really think about. Look around your life at all this stuff you've accumulated. Are you the one in control, or have the things you bought started to control you? Because ultimately, the choice of whether you own your possessions or they own you, that choice was entirely up to you.